People in neighborhood associations in Ada County looking to slow down vehicles in their area. Well, they now have a simpler way to go about it. Back in June, the Ada County Highway District Commission voted in favor of an interim traffic calming policy that makes it easier to request speed mitigation structures like speed bumps and speed humps. But how does the new policy actually make things easier? Our Hector Mendoza reports.
I swear it'd be 55 or 60 miles an hour.
Aaron Olson, who has lived on Catalpa Drive about 7 years, moved into the area before these speed humps were added.
They would really rev it up and cut down the street. It was insane sometimes.
And he says that the neighbors were fed up.
All the neighbors had extra signs for the speed limit, trying to remind people. You know, you'd see people shaking their fists.
Not only that,
there was even a father and son with a radar gun who would camp out about halfway down the street just to try and convince the city to do something about these people going down the street.
So the neighbors went through a long process to get the speed humps installed along this road. And Olson says it's been night and day.
The way that it improved the neighborhood, it feels totally different here. I mean, you can see as people go by, like, they really are going 25.
The wait was worth it. And ACHD says they have a new policy that will make it easier for people to request and potentially get a speed bump or speed hump in their neighborhood. But before this new policy, individuals had to collect data to prove excessive traffic speed, traffic volume, and do a cut-through study.
To see how many vehicles were actually just cutting through the neighborhood and it wasn't just, you know, your local residents.
Now, if there wasn't a lot of cut-through, the neighborhood would have to pay for the traffic calming feature. But with the new interim policy the commission passed,
we don't do that cut-through study anymore, and ultimately ACHD pays for the improvements. We recognize that if they're speeding in a neighborhood, they're speeding regardless of who it is, and it's important to try and address that and address safety in the neighborhood.
Not only that, but requesters will only have to prove either excessive speed or traffic volume, not both, shortening the process.
Yeah, it definitely shortens up the process, and a cut-through study was really time-intensive too for ACHD staff, and so it does shorten up that process, makes it a little bit easier.
So the ultimate goal for ACHD is safety.
People need to feel comfortable on their street, especially when you have the opportunity for children to walk out and play in the street. You really want to make sure that people are going the speed limit that's there.
It feels a lot more like a neighborhood and less like a thoroughfare. So yeah, it's calming, peaceful, it's great. I love the speed bumps.
ACHD told me normally it's a 6-month to a year process to make the request and get the appropriate amount of signatures for the petition. Then it needs to get sent. And getting the signatures is the longest part of the request. But with this new policy, they see the process taking significantly less time. ACHD also mentioned that they are looking at making a process even easier, including dropping the petition threshold from 75% of signatures to maybe 60%. They're also planning on doing public outreach in the coming weeks, and they plan to release or kind of get public opinion about that and hopefully have something a little more permanent. Permanent coming into August.
You know what's interesting is you hear people talk about this all the time. Like, people in my neighborhood, they drive too fast. Does ACHD have a number of like how many requests they get from people for more speed bumps?
Yeah, they mentioned that they get about 100 a year. Out of those 125 actually kind of get the requirement and meet that requirement to kind of go into the next steps. But then with the petitions and everything, like I mentioned, it's hard to kind of get 75% of those people to kind of sign. So a lot of them don't even really go through the next steps and actually get into actually installing them. So it's kind of hard on that sense. So hopefully this thing kind of makes it a little easier.
And we know even with the new rules, the new program here, you know, there's no guarantee that if you put in an application, you're going to get one. But the gentleman you spoke with today, I mean, they must be pretty happy with this new process.
Right. He mentioned that he was there, and about a year later, it kind of came to fruition. They got that speed bump there. And speaking to a lot of other people in the neighborhoods, they were just as excited. I mean, at first it was a little hectic, but you know, things kind of slowed things down, and so people were excited.
One neighborhood at a time. All right, Hector Mendoza, his 208 debut. You're going to see him a lot around here on 7. Hector, thanks so much.